Good evening. This is the Phoenix Union High School Governing Board meeting for June 5th.
guys ready? The special meeting is called back to order. Will the secretary please note that all board members are present? Let's see. First item is on the agenda is 3B, motion to adjourn executive session. Is there a motion to adjourn the executive session?
I motion.
Second.
Motion to adjourn has been made by Board Member Pastor Rivera, seconded by Representative Marquez. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Three D, motion to adjourn the special meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn the special meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion to adjourn has been made by Clerk Oliver and seconded by Board Member Pastor Rivera. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. The regular meeting is now called to order. Will the secretary please note that all board members are present? Please note that today's meeting is being live streamed. Also, we offer Spanish interpreting services at the back of the room.
Si
Madam Chair.
necesita intérprete en español, favor de mirar a nuestro intérprete que se encuentra a un lado del cuarto. Gracias.
Did we do that?
We did it. So we gotta go back and yeah.
Apologies, we need to go back into special meeting. We need to do the motion
To instruct.
to instruct. Do we need to reopen it, or can we go back to,
You can do it now.
okay. All right.
Item 3C.
Item 3C, thank you, Representative Marquez. I motion that there would be a 4% base increase in the salary pay for the base salary for superintendent for the year 2025-26, and to create a subcommittee to study a performance-based compensation plan for 2026-27 and provide a recommendation to the board. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made by myself, seconded by Clerk Oliver. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. One nay. Motion carries. Moving back into regular session. First item on the agenda is 1C, Pledge of Allegiance and Moment of Silence. We will stand as Board Member Cota leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing while a moment of silence is observed.
Please join me in honoring our great nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. The next item on the agenda is 1D, Land Acknowledgement Statement. Please remain seated as Board Member Cross reads the PXU Land Acknowledgement Statement.
The Phoenix Union High School District is responsible for and committed to creating educational environments that prioritize the achievements of Native American students. We are committed to making their cultural identity visible by the acknowledging that our school district resides upon the ancestral land of the original caretakers, the Huhugum ancestors of the Akimeral Otham and Ankh Akimeral Otham, Da Na Otham, and Akchin. These sovereign nations are presently known as the Gila River Indian Community, Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community, Otham Nation, and Akchin Indian Nation. This formal acknowledgement is dedicated to the 22 sovereign nations of Arizona. Phoenix Union understands the importance of providing reparations through truth-telling. We recognize the historical injustices not traditionally taught in the classroom, and we are committed to practice prioritizing Native American knowledge, history, representation, and healing. We commit with an open mind to always respect the land, its history, and its ancestors.
Thank you, Board Member Cross. The next item on the agenda is 2A, recognitions and accomplishments. We are very excited about all the wonderful celebrations we have tonight and will recognize the accomplishments of our students and staff. First on the list is we welcome Jeremiah Cota to the board, who was appointed to Ward 1 by Maricopa County Superintendent Shelley Boggs on May 29th. He will serve the remainder of the existing term that expires November, I believe it's December 2026. And he was sworn into office yesterday and officially takes his seat tonight. Board Member Meyer.
Madam President, may I
Oh, yes.
have a minute
Go
here?
ahead.
I just want to say, yes, thank you. It is an honor and privilege to be here on this board serving with my fellow board members and Madam President. I do want to let the community know that I am here first and foremost to represent you, and I am here first and foremost to represent our students and our parents. I want to stand behind them. I want to be an ally, and I do believe that we are going to work together. I believe we can be respectful, and I look forward to it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Board Member Meyer.
We begin our celebrations with the Alhambra High School Metro program. I had the honor of attending the unveiling of a beautiful piece of artwork created in partnership with local artists to decorate a park in the Alhambra community. This artistic representation of a shade structure shows the vibrancy of the community and the artistic creativity of our students. It was a beautiful ceremony, and I hope you all take a moment to drive by this incredible structure on 35th Avenue and Camelback to take a look for yourselves. Join us as we congratulate and recognize our Alhambra Metra sponsors, Raquel Enrique, Daniela Suarez, and Gina Reyes, along with our student artists, Ashley Ortega Rodriguez, Alice Rodriguez, Alex de Paz Nguyen, Yaritza Breceda Peña, Marley Alvarado Ochoa, Kelly Lopez Pastor, and Cecia Noyola Ramirez for their incredible work. So thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Pastor Rivera.
Next, we have the honor of highlighting our academic decathlon students from Cesar Chavez High School. The academic program, at Chavez has proven itself to be a powerhouse over the past few years, with regular district and statewide awards and recognitions to show its incredible work. This year, our academic students participated in the National Online Large Schools Competition, and Cesar Chavez brought home third place in the entire United States of America. Not only that, but 7 of the 9 students who competed from Chavez placed in the top 10 nationally. This is the first time a PX Union team has qualified to compete at nationals, and Chavez placed 3rd. Incredible job. Join us as we congratulate Alex Ewell, Benito Rodriguez, Ken Du, Shiloh Hernandez, Chloe Flood, Moises Medina, Victoria Arujo, Alejandro Sainz, Juanita Ortega, and sponsor William Keebler for placing 3rd in the nation for academic decathlon. Congratulations.
Clerk Oliver.
Our final recognition this evening is for an incredible young man and student athlete from where? The Academies at South Mountain. I'm honored to celebrate and recognize Damar Coleman for winning not one, but 2 state track and field state championships. What? So let's talk about Damar. Damar won the 100 and the 200-meter sprint state championships, representing the mountain in front of a packed house for the championships. He had one of the best seasons in Arizona history, clocking a wind-legal 10.34 in the 100, which is the second best all-time in state history, and a 20.82 in the 200, which is good for the 5th all-time. Damar will take his talents to Arizona State University, where he will now compete at the next level. Join me as we congratulate Damar Coleman for winning the state championship in the 100 and 200 meters for the Academies at South Mountain.
We will take a 5-minute break to set up the podium and tech. Thank you. Thank you so much. We are coming back. Item 3A, reports from employee organizations. Can we please note that, oh, there's Board Member Cross. 3A, reports from employee organizations. Our representatives reporting tonight are Mr. Esteban Flemings, CTA President, Ms. Anastasia Jimenez, CEA President, and Mr. John Doherty, ADA President. Mr. Flemings.
Good evening, President. We good? Okay, there we go. Good evening, President Napa, Superintendent Andrade, governing board members, community and staff in attendance here and virtually. My name is Esteban Flemings, President of the Phoenix Union CTA, and I stand here before you representing our 1,000 certified educators in PXU. On behalf of PXU CTA, congratulations, Board Member Cotta, on your appointment to represent Ward 1. I hope that you'll take advantage of this summer and into next year our Board Buddies program, which CTA runs, and help establish a positive relationship with us for our certified staff here in the district as we continue to work with the district to collaborate for the betterment of our students here. I would also like to congratulate the new leaders in PXU who will begin their roles July 1st. Since most of my work is through education on the sites, I specifically wanted to say congratulations to the new principals since our last meeting. So Mr. Correa, Ms. Shields, Ms. Granile Sotelo, Ms. Johnson, and Ms. Lee. Also to all the new APs, several who have been CTA, who have been longtime CTA members. I know that they're going to remember their roots when they take over their new administrative roles. As we've made significant progress in creating relationships where certified, administrative, and classified staff work harmoniously, well, at least most of the time we do, with each other to accomplish what's best for our students. So congratulations to everyone who's doing a new role this coming year. I'd like to thank the board for really being open and listening, particularly last month regarding our nurses in PXU. After that board meeting, we had some really great conversations with our nurses and leadership, and that's created an MOA coming forward, as well as some agreements to really look at our nursing situation in IBN next year. There are a few additional MOAs, which I also hope that will be approved by the board today. And I just wanted to speak to MOAs. They're a really great opportunity for us to try some new ideas within the district before we commit them to our language. And as you saw last board meeting, when we have language changes, when it's not been done in a while, I think we did about a quarter of the PA last time, which is those 70 plus pages you guys look through. We're going to be doing the rest of it this next year, so we recognize MOAs are a way to help us try to make that a little bit cleaner, so we'll be having more changes, but we'll try to bring them in little chunks so it's not quite as much. But MOAs are a great way for us to try some things out and ensure that they work for all staff in the district before we make them permanent languages. Through the remaining of the summer, CTA has a pretty busy schedule. Since the last time we met, CTA has been had our Arizona Delegate Assembly through AEA at the Renaissance downtown, where we elected new leadership for AEA for the next 3 years. So we're excited about those parts. We are currently working on PA adjustments, as I just said, for the next year. We have CTA members that will be attending AEA Leadership Summit coming up later on this month, as well as we will have 8 members attending the NEA Representative Assembly at the end of June this year. So really looking forward to just being involved in the work to make public education better, not only in Arizona, but across the country. With that, we recognize that the work here in Phoenix Union is never done, and while it might not always be the easiest, CTA will always be here advocating for our staff and students, and I will always be here representing my 1,000 members. So I really hope to work collaboratively with all of you, but I also hope you guys have a nice summer and relax, and then when we come back in August, we're ready to do the thing that we need to do. So thank you all, and have a great one.
Thank you so much. Ms. Anastasia Jimenez.
Hello, good evening. Okay, so good evening, everybody. Superintendent Andrade, governing board members, PXU leadership, staff, students, and our union siblings from CTA and ADA, and to our community members, allies, and educational support professionals here in the room tonight and online virtually. Thank you for showing up and for standing with us. Tonight, we welcome a new member to this governing board, Mr. Jeremiah Cotta. Congratulations. While perhaps we may not always align in values or vision, we remain committed to respectful engagement and transparency. As the president of the Classified Employees Association, representing the largest ESP local in the state of Arizona, I want to be clear. We are here, we are organized, and we are united in our mission to uplift public education and protect the rights of all educators and students in this district. We stand in solidarity with our union siblings from the Classroom Teachers Association and the Administrators Association. Together we are stronger, and fittingly, I hope that I'm not ruining the surprise here, but that is PXU's theme for the upcoming school year, Stronger Together. And it's more than a slogan, it's a call to action. Sorry, Thea, I took away. Sorry. So with that, I just want to take some time for some recognitions. As we begin the month of June, we honor and celebrate Pride Month, uplifting our LGBTQ plus students, staff, and families. Thank you. We want to also recognize Men's Health Month. So reminding us of the importance of wellness and access to care for all men, cisgendered or not. We also want to recognize the National Safety Month, which is reinforcing our commitment to safe learning and working environments, which we'll hear more about later in today's agenda. And then lastly, but not least, Juneteenth, a powerful reminder of the ongoing journey towards justice and equity. So I'm excited to celebrate Juneteenth with my family. We're gonna be taking a bit of a vacation, so I'm excited. So these observances are not just symbolic, they reflect the values we fight for every day. So with that, I will move on to some other lighter things, yet still important. I'm also excited to announce that tomorrow we kick off our Classified Summer Academy's Professional Development Series, and we're thrilled to be rolling out new targeted content for our classified ESP staff. This is a major step forward in professionalizing and empowering our workforce. We are excited, we are ready, and we are grateful to those who made this possible, including our TOAs, shout out to them, who supported some of the creation of our PD. So thank you to those two TOAs on the third floor. Thank you. And then as for tonight's agenda, we want to express our support for several key items. So item 10L, which is regarding the revised job descriptions for the MIPS specialists, which reflects the evolving and essential nature of the role. Item 11G and 11H, the resolution supporting the override elections, which are critical to sustaining the resources our students and staff need and deserve. So we are proud to stand behind that. And lastly, let's see, actually two more things. 11P, the uniform and rental laundering contract from our transportation department. So thank you, transportation, because what that's gonna do is gonna provide services so our employees can not only look their best, but feel the respect and responsibility that comes with the uniform. And then item 11Q, and so while we support contracted transportation services to meet those immediate needs of our students, I must emphasize that this is not a replacement for our current staff. We are still in urgent need of PXU employed drivers and expanded support for our ESS and McKinney-Vento students. So please, I ask that we not lose sight of that. And then with that, we would like to give a special recognition to Dr. Gard and Ms. Mann for their leadership and advocacy in these spaces. Thank you both, and to our Job Description Review Committee, and all those who gave their expertise and insight to the development and revision of those classified positions. So that, yes, thank you. The job description, just something to know off my script here, the Job Description Review Committee has done a lot of work. And so I didn't have it in my notes, but I do see them here today. And I want to give a special shout out to Ms. Michaela Jackson for organizing the Job Description Review Committee, as well as her now former assistant, Ms. Erica Mercado. So shout out to them too. It's a big lift. And then lastly, to this governing board, new and returning members alike, know this, our voices will not be silent. We will be present, we will be visible, and we will continue to advocate for what is right, just, and equitable for all members of our PXU family. We are stronger together, and we will be here at every meeting, in every room, and on every campus until every voice is heard and every educator is respected. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. John Doherty.
Good evening, President Napa, Governing Board, Superintendent Andrade, and Phoenix Union community. As we close out this school year and prepare for the next, I want to again begin by expressing my gratitude for the opportunity to serve as President of the Administrators Association. I thought last month was the last month. It's this month. So I say my goodbye, and next month you will see a new president. It has been a great honor to represent such a dedicated and passionate group of leaders across our district. We recently held in PXU our Principal Summit, and where leaders from across PXU gathered and began planning for the upcoming school year. The energy and the collaboration displayed by our administrative teams gives us great confidence as we move into the next school year. I'm excited to see how it all plays out. We also extend our congratulations and warm welcome to all the newly selected administrators stepping into their new roles, including many principals sitting in the back of the room. So congratulations to you and to your teams. The very best, we wish you the very best as you begin this new chapter in service to our students and our communities. Summer school is now 50% over. We have 2 weeks left. We look forward to celebrating our summer graduates and are very proud of our tremendous progress being made by our students working to be on track for graduation. As we turn the corner into July, we have our administrator academies coming up. We'll kick off the new cycle of professional learning and leadership development. These academies are essential for us to be prepared to lead boldly into the next school year. And finally, on behalf of our entire association, I would like to officially welcome our new board member from Ward 1, Mr. Cook. Welcome. We look forward to working with you in support of Phoenix Union's mission of preparing every student for success in college, career, and life. Thank you again for your partnership and support, everyone, and have a wonderful summer. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is for a call to the public.
According to ARS 38-431.01H, at the conclusion of the call to the public, members of the public body may respond to criticism made by those who address the public body, may ask the staff to review a matter, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. However, members may not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. We would like to caution members of the audience about commenting on a particular individual and thank you for not referring to any person by name. In order to avoid any concerns with interpretation services, please be aware of the following. We have a Spanish interpreter available to join you at the podium while you address the governing board. Only the PXU assigned interpreter will provide interpretation services. If you have a script on paper or on a device, we ask that you make it available for the interpreter. In order to provide accurate interpreting, we ask that you speak for approximately 2 to 3 sentences at a time and pause for interpreting. You will be given double the amount of time to address the governing board as a result. As usual, we ask that you end your comments when your official time allotment has ended.
Para evitar dificultades con los servicios de intérprete, tenga en cuenta lo siguiente. Tenemos un intérprete de español disponible para acompañarlo mientras se dirige a la mesa directiva. Solo el intérprete asignado por el distrito proveerá servicios de interpretación. Si tiene su mensaje en papel o electrónicamente, le pedimos que lo ponga a disposición del intérprete. Para brindar una interpretación precisa, le pedimos que hable aproximadamente de 2 a 3 oraciones a la vez y haga una pausa para el intérprete. Como resultado, se le dará el doble del tiempo para dirigirse a la mesa directiva. Como de costumbre, le pedimos que finalice sus comentarios cuando termine su tiempo asignado. Gracias por su cooperación.
Presentations tonight are limited to a maximum amount of 2 minutes. Tonight, we have the option for members of the public to participate in person and virtually. We will start with, we have no one online, so we'll start with our in-person. We will call on those who requested to speak in person. Please state your name, indicate the agenda item or topic you wish to speak about, and limit your presentation to 2 minutes. Our first speaker is Danette Rivera Robles, followed by Stephanie Valdez.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. PXU board member, Superintendent Andrade, and President Napa. So my name is Danette. I'm a member of Maryville Dance Company and captain of the hip hop team. So I'm here to support Miss Williams and our amazing dance program. So whenever someone asks me about my dance background, I'm always proud to say that I learned at school. This program has been a game changer for talent, growth, confidence, teamwork, and friendship. It's pushed me to explore opportunities I would have never reached for. I am now in a dance career outside of school and will compete in Vegas in 2 weeks. All possible with the mentorship of our kind teachers who led this grand program with hundreds of students like me, hungry to learn and hungry to improve. Without the participation of Miss Williams, that would change. Many students won't get to experience what I have through my 4 years of dance, and that's heartbreaking. Stealing that opportunity from future dancers would be watching talent fade away. Therefore, considering Miss Williams' position will greatly be appreciated. Thank you all for listening. Have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you, Danette. Next is Stephanie Valdez, followed by Yaelin Lopez Garcia.
Phoenix Union board members, President Napa, Superintendent Andrade. I'm Stephanie Valdez, and I'm in advanced dance, and I'm here to share more about my incredible experience in our dance program. Miss Williams, you've truly inspired us to push our limits and strive for excellence. Your high expectations motivate us to improve constantly. The thought of losing you is deeply concerning because you've made our dance class feel like home. Your passion and dedication create an environment where we all thrive. Our dance program is more than just a class. It's a transformative experience. The high expectations you set challenge to grow on us, not just as dancers, but as individuals. Without you, many students would miss out on the invaluable opportunity for personal growth and a sense of belonging. Losing a dance teacher means losing an energetic resource that serves so many students, providing them with an experience that enriches their lives in countless ways. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Yaelin Lopez Garcia, followed by Valerie Dawn Bright.
Good evening, Phoenix Union board members, President Napa, and Superintendent Andrade. My name is Yaelin, and I'm here on behalf of our dedicated performing arts teacher, Ms. Williams, to speak about the importance of the dance program and the profound impact it has on students like me. Our school has always been fortunate to have 2 dance teachers who have cultivated a vibrant and inspiring dance community. Through their guidance, students have been exposed to a variety of dance styles, fostering creativity, discipline, and personal growth. This experience has set a high standard for what dance education can and should be. Ms. Williams, in particular, has played an essential role in that growth. She has been an incredible mentor and has consistently encouraged me to step out of my comfort zone. Because of her, I have developed confidence, not only as a dancer, but as an individual. Losing Ms. Williams would be a tremendous loss, not just for me, but for every student who has yet to discover their potential through the performing arts. The program is projected to lose 5 dance classes, drastically limiting access for students and reducing opportunities for growth. I respectfully ask that you reconsider the decision of removing Ms. Williams from our school. Her presence is vital to maintaining the strength of our dance program and to prepare the next generation of artists, dreamers, and confident individuals. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Valerie Dawn Bright.
Good evening, Phoenix Union Board members, President Napa, and Superintendent Andrade. My name is Valerie. I'm also here to talk about the dance program and the consideration of moving Miss Williams out of Maryville. The dance program is not the same without Miss Williams as a teacher. She gives everyone potential to be their best selves, to show emotion through dance and to express your thoughts. So many people in dance look forward to her hour because of her joyful expression and how she treats everyone with kindness. Without her in Maryville, it would make so many classes disappointed and many people who look forward to her class heartbroken. She teaches everyone that hard work does pay off as you go through auditions for advance and company. Transferring Miss Williams would be heartbreaking for many, and people would no longer be served and receive the wonderful experience dance has to offer. My experience was the best because she cares about the class and she makes everyone feel special in their own sort of way. She improved my dancing so much and helped me when I was feeling down, which I wish could happen to like many people in the future. I would kindly ask to reconsider moving Miss Williams out of Maryville. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. We have one request to speak online. Caller, please state your name, indicate the agenda item or topic you wish to speak about, and limit your presentation to 2 minutes.
She's in person. She came in live.
Oh, she came in? Okay. Hey. All right. Brielle Geisman, come on down.
Good evening. My name is Brielle Giesman, and I served as an ELD educator in PXU for the past 5 years. I'm here tonight to speak in strong dissent of the district's proposed new model for English language development. Historically, our pre-emergent students, newcomers and repeaters alike, received a 4-hour model, a 2-hour ELD block, a co-taught content class, and an American Studies course. It wasn't perfect, but it offered layered, sustained language development aligned with best practices. Under the proposed model, students repeating the pre-emergent level will only receive the 2-hour block class. The rest of their schedule, math, science, social studies, electives, will be fully mainstreamed with no embedded language support. These are students who, after 1 or more academic years of targeted instruction, did not meet the threshold to progress. They will also receive a written individual compensatory plan, WICP, a document mandated under Office for Civil Rights. A WICP is used when English learners are not receiving the full instructional model as defined by the district. In other words, when you can't give ELD students what you're supposed to, you create a WICP. It seems PXU plans to facilitate these compensatory services after school, on Saturdays, and during summer school. This plan is not only wildly out of touch with the reality of our student demographics, but it is extremely negligent to expect our most vulnerable population to work outside of school hours to get scraps of what they deserve and are legally entitled to. And here's the most important thing. If a large number of students, in our case hundreds and hundreds of pre-emergent level students across PXU, are placed in a program that automatically requires a WICP, that suggests the model itself is flawed. WICPs are intended for exceptions, not system-wide shortcuts. I understand this plan is framed as a scheduling solution for the teacher shortage that plagues our district. But here's the truth, a staffing issue should never be a student's burden. Please reconsider this proposed plan and consult teachers to give their expertise.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Stacy Williams, followed by Lillian Owen, followed by Nidra Shepard. So Stacy Williams, then Nidra Shepard.
Good evening, Phoenix Union Board members, President Napa, and Superintendent Andrade. I am Stacy Williams, a dance teacher at Maryville High School for the past 22 years. I love my job. I love the student population I'm blessed to teach. And I also have narcolepsy. For the past 22 years, I have been accommodated by all the principals I have worked under, but I was never directed to officially document my narcolepsy with the district office. This was never an issue until the surplus came about. The surplus came to be because of issues putting students into dance that had requested it. 37 students that wanted dance this past year were redirected to other electives. Had those 37 students been placed where they requested, dance would never have been noticed for low numbers and therefore chosen for a surplus. Once the official surplus meeting occurred, the first week back to school in January, I was told to quickly get my accommodations in with the district. I jumped right on it, and by the end of January, I turned in my paperwork from my sleep specialist. One of the accommodations that I need is a short driving distance to work. In fact, I bought my house where it is so that I could drive to my work at Maryville with only a 15 to 20-minute drive. March came along and I was given my contract for Maryville and to teach dance. I signed. Also in March or early April, the dance position became open for next year at Camelback High School. I encouraged the other dance teacher that had been placed on surplus to reach out about the Camelback position. Also, the union encouraged the district to offer it to her as well. I would not have been able to take it even if it was offered to me. Driving that far is too hard for me. March was ending and I had not received my ADA accommodations request back. It had now been 2 months. I reached out about it at the end of March and was told it would be sent to me by the end of the week.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Your time has expired. Thank you. Nidra Shepherd, followed by Lillian Owen.
Good evening, President of the Board, Clerk of the Board, and Superintendent, and the rest of the honored board members, and good evening to the new board member. I am here to speak about 2 things, if I can stick to it. I was here last month and I neglected or forgot to talk about the HBCU tours, which is very near and dear to my heart. And I'm gonna tell you just a brief bit of history. When I came to Phoenix Union High School District, there were no BSUs on campus. I successfully, along with the help of other sponsors, gathered on all of the comprehensive campuses, BSUs, and even on a couple of the small campuses, BSUs, which in turn led to the BSU, the HBCU tours. Now, where I'm from, HBC tours are very, very important because they provide an opportunity for students who might not have an opportunity to visit colleges. Okay, so I want to congratulate the superintendent for thinking of us and to keep that program going. I wish I had more than 2 minutes because I want to give you a little history on HBCUs and the accomplishments and how long it took for this organization to come on board with it. And when I speak of this organization, I'm talking about Phoenix Union, okay? Now, my second thing is I want to talk about how positions are, how people are placed in positions without a forum, without community involvement, without an opportunity for other candidates to participate. You all have a happy Juneteenth. Still waiting on my 40 acres and a mule.
Thank you, Ms. Shepherd. Our next speaker is Lillian Owen, followed by Hannah Peck.
Good evening, Superintendent Andrade, President Napa, and members of the board. I'm here to speak about a budget decision that could directly impact students on our campus. Our strong performing arts program, which includes our amazing dance teachers and students, is a catalyst for enrollment at Maryville. In a time when student retention is fueling our district budget woes, it seems counterintuitive to cut an area that could further exacerbate declining enrollment. It was explained to me earlier this year that finance helped locate people to surplus by classroom sizes, the numbers of kids in classes. And I just would like you to consider that those numbers that we have in our professional agreement were altered after the 2008 recession in times when we had, some budget issues. And then when we became flush, if you could call it flush, later, it was not revisited and the class numbers were not lowered again. And I wonder if that had been done, if they had been lowered back down, if we would want to surplus teachers or, So I would just please consider this when you're thinking about the budget this year. And please make it a top priority to retain classroom teachers in your budget decisions. And just one final note, I would also like you to consider the stress it puts teachers under to be in limbo for a long time, for months, right? And to not have their paperwork processed in a timely manner for real issues. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Hannah Peck, followed by Megan Christensen.
Good evening, members of the board, Board President Napa, Superintendent Andrade, and members of the PXU community. My name is Hannah Peck, and I am an ELD teacher at Alhambra High School, and I am very proud to be a part of the Alhambra Pride. I am here today on behalf of my students to do what I have done my best to teach them and what PXU tries to teach them as well, to stand up for what is right and to fight against what is wrong. This year, despite the best efforts of my school's administrators who prioritize our students above all else, a teacher who directed racially abusive language towards our students is being allowed back into the classroom. At Phoenix Union, we proudly promise that we offer schools opportunity that welcome, love, and inspire all students. Knowingly putting our students into a classroom with a teacher who has previously belittled students with microaggressions and has been blatantly racist, freely addressing a group of students as dirty Mexicans is exactly the opposite of what we promise. What does this communicate to our students and our community? That we are okay with our students being treated this way? This does not represent the PXU promise or mission that I know so many of us believe in, which is why I wanted to bring this to your attention this evening to prevent this issue from occurring in the future, to protect our students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, final speaker is Megan Christensen.
Good evening, President Napa, Superintendent Andrade, and governing board members. I am here speaking tonight about board goals and our community values. While I wear many hats in this district, I am speaking tonight in my favorite role, and that is as a proud mother of 2 current PXU students. First, I want to thank you for your work this school year. Yours is not an easy job, and I appreciate you being here and the efforts you've made to do right by our students, staff, families, and community. As you move forward with your work, especially as you set goals for students and expectations for our superintendent, I urge you to remember why this district and all public schools exist. Our children deserve the best, most comprehensive education we can provide them. As a PXU parent for the past 5 years and community member for almost 35 years, the work you do matters to me deeply. We all bring different perspectives to the table, but parents in our district have been clear. We value diversity in our schools. We expect equity to ensure all students are able to reach their full potential, and we demand inclusivity and respect for all, regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, sex, sexual orientation, national origin, religious background, physical or mental ability, or any other minority identity. As part of this, we expect our children to have access to and be taught diverse voices and the full history of our country, including the parts that make people who look like me uncomfortable. The only way to move forward as a society is to be honest and truthful about our history so we collectively can move forward towards a future that lives up to our proclaimed values. None of these ideas should be controversial, but the reality of our world is that basic human decency does in fact seem to be controversial. As you move forward with your work, remember, we are here to do what is best for students. This job is not supposed to be a platform to further your political careers or push your own agendas. We want safe schools where diversity is a given. Equity is An expectation and inclusivity is inherent in our culture. Stronger together isn't a cute catchphrase. It is a mindset and it is a mandate. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes tonight's call to the public.
Thank you. Moving on. The next item is 5A, approval of consent agenda. I would,
You want to take a recess?
we had a recess.
Okay, all right. We just normally do it after.
We will take a 5-minute recess. We are coming back. It is Board Member Cross. Okay. All right, the next item is 5A, approval of consent agenda. I will pull items 11GG and 11MM. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, removing those two items?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
A motion to approve the consent agenda without 11GG and 11MM has been made by Representative Marquez and seconded by Board Member Pastor Rivera. Is there any discussion? Okay, on the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. We will go into item 11G. Is there a motion to approve item 11GG? Is that right?
Do you want to?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there discussion? Is that-
1 second. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to navigate. Okay. Items 11GG and 11MM. I do not have a conflict of interest on either item. I confirmed this with the board's lawyer before the meeting, but in an abundance of caution, I will be recusing myself from participating in the vote about these items because of my current employment by the City of Phoenix. 11GG, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All right, motion to approve 11GG has been motioned by Representative Marquez, seconded by Clerk Oliver. Please indicate by your favor by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. And then 11MM, is there a motion to approve item MM?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
A motion to approve the consent agenda, item MM has been made by Clerk Oliver and Board Member Cota. Is there any discussion? All right, on the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Any abstentions? I'm an abstention. Motion carries. Next item is 6A, Superintendent's Report. Ms. Andrade, please provide your report at this time.
Okay, good evening, Governing Board and Phoenix Union family that came out tonight. Even when school is out, you still come out. At our last full meeting of the year, I'm excited to share some celebrations with all of you as the school year. And we look forward to the summer and the 25-26 launch now that we've had a little teaser on the theme. Let's begin by celebrating our new campus leaders. If you are in attendance, could you please stand with recent promotions? Yeah, nice. The brave, thank you. We've had recent promotions. We've also had others that moved out of state to be closer to family and moved out of district even. So we are welcoming 6 new principals to the position, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, sorry. And I do want to state, though, that the top row went through the forums and were selected by their community out of abundance of feedback. And the bottom 2 were late decisions in the school year, and I am confident in their ability to act as the acting principal until we can do a full forum where the communities can select maybe the same or maybe a new member to lead that community. So I want to assure the audience that we will continue to do open promotion practices. All right, and I do want to take this minute to thank the outgoing leaders for their service and their dedication to Phoenix Union, and I wish you all the luck in the world, and stay in touch. All right, next we transition to summer school and the summer launch and the freshman launch. 3,000 students across our district are either in summer school or in that freshman launch program, which really demonstrates that continued commitment to our freshman transition and success. You're going to hear a little bit later in the report more about freshmen. I want to remind everybody our summer school graduation ceremony is going to take place on Monday, July 7th. It's really hot. There's probably nothing else to do. So come on down to Central High School, and at 6 p.m. we'll be in the auditorium. I look forward to seeing you there to celebrate those kids that just didn't give up. They pushed through the month of June. All right, speaking of graduation, last month we graduated over 5,000 seniors and sent them out into the world to become the future of Phoenix. It was such a rewarding experience to sit on the stage and participate in the festivities, but mostly to see our students and families celebrate how proud they were of these accomplishments. A couple of highlights from the class of 2025, and we've been highlighting them all spring, but we did hit our goal of at least 40% of our graduates completing the FAFSA. Actually, 42% did. Our graduates received a district record of, I'm going to pause here, $186 million in scholarships earned. This total is up $20 million from last year. And finally, approximately 200 Phoenix Union grads will attend the prestigious Ivy or otherwise universities this fall. But more importantly, additionally, another approximately 1,300 have been accepted to ASU, another 770 to U of A, and another 1,065 to NAU. So, U of A has some catching up to do. However, the total college numbers, including community colleges, we'll bring back to you and report next semester once seats are in a chair. This is just the acceptance rates and just how proud we are of all of our graduates moving on, whether that's the military, the workforce, or community college, a pathway, or a 4-year. Congratulations, graduates. I wish you all the best in your future. Excited to share the addition of a new translation service that will be supporting our families next year. We're going to launch Interprify at all of our governing board meetings next year. This solution provides real-time translations for all of our families in multiple languages. So they just select their language and everything that is said gets interpreted for them. We used it at graduation ceremonies. Thank you, Richard, for being brave enough to use that. We actually got a lot of positive feedback from our families, and we're looking forward to launching next fall. Recently, Camelback High School was featured on ABC 15 for a positive story about our freshman houses. And I just want to share about a minute clip of the video with you all tonight.
Campus, but grows results. Here's ABC 15 education reporter Eleni Dow.
At Camelback High School, there are about 500 freshman students, and through this program for Freshman House, teachers are making sure that no students are left behind. Moving on to high school,
I didn't know anybody.
Can be quite intimidating.
So it was very hard for me to find my place.
Freshman Daniela Lerma taken under the wings.
Let's do it on the paper first.
Of her educators. You feel like it was helpful for you?
Yes, very.
In a program, Camelback High and the Phoenix Union High School District started during COVID.
We took Camelback, which is huge, and we shrunk it down, right? Kind of like Harry Potter. We have 4 houses.
Between water, air, earth, and fire, Principal James Arndt says freshmen are grouped together, same teachers, same counselors, meeting weekly to track progress.
And they literally go through the list. Which student is failing a class?
The result? Grades are rising. Camelback went from a D-rated school to a B for the first time in 15 years.
Only the second time in our entire history.
Graduation rates are growing too. In 2019, just 42% of freshmen were on track to graduate. Now, it's 87%.
We're changing lives. Like, there's more kids graduating, more kids headed to college, more kids having positive outcomes.
Senior Desiree Medina was in the very first freshman house class, being in person all 4 years post-pandemic.
It just kind of motivates you to be like, dang, I may not be getting it from home, but my teachers here care about my success, and that's really big.
Big enough to inspire her to become a teacher.
I plan to go to Phoenix College, actually, and get my prereqs to become a teacher because of all the amazing teachers from here, actually.
You think we're going to reach all the way up to 20, right?
And they're making sure no freshman gets left behind.
They are the foundation, right? If they are successful as freshmen, they will be successful as seniors.
And it's only getting better.
No surprise that that first group of in-person freshman house kids have the highest scholarship totals in our history, have the highest college credit attainment in our history, and they're just kicking butt and breaking records everywhere.
In Phoenix, Eleni Dow, ABC 15, Arizona.
Congratulations, Camelback. But I was at the Principals Summit last week, and you've got a few schools that have raised the bar and are ready to challenge you on some of your stats. So they're going to bring it, Camelback. You're in first now, but we'll see next year. All right, this year we had 87 Phoenix Union students complete the requirements for the Arizona State Seal of Arts Proficiency. In order to receive this seal, students must complete 4 credits in the arts, not get any grade lower than a B, and at least 80 hours of art-related extracurricular activities. In addition, they must complete a capstone project that demonstrates their proficiency. Since the inception of the seal in 2021, we have had 100% growth in the number of students earning this seal. I want to congratulate and commend our Phoenix Union art students. You do wonderful work. Thank you. Next, I want to congratulate Ms. Shannon Harsh from Wilson Prep, who is an AVID teacher, an AVID site coordinator, and the AVID district co-director. She was recently named a finalist for the AVID Global Achievement Awards. She is one of 4 finalists from across the whole country in the category of Global Achievement. The awardees will find out if they win later in June. Best of luck, Ms. Harsh, and we feel like we've already won just having you, so congratulations on being named a finalist. Another huge congratulations to Dr. Angela Palacios from Carl Hayden for being selected as the Ford Teacher of the Month presented by Univision. This award recognizes passionate teachers in Arizona who are making a difference in education and the lives of Arizona students. As part of this campaign, they're going to be creating a 30-second commercial spot highlighting the Teacher of the Month, and it will air on the channel during the month of July 2025. So watch for her. Carl Hayden, on top of all that, will receive a $1,000 donation, but I want to extend a sincere congratulations to Dr. Palacios. As you know, Governing Board, we recently heard from our student leaders at Carl Hayden about providing humane bee removal from when swarms or nests make their way on campus. Student staff safety is always paramount, but we know bee stings are deadly. However, it is our intention to humanely remove bees when they find their way to our campus. So I'm proud to say that they did find their way back to our campus, and thanks to a quick response from our logistics and finance divisions, we were able to humanely and safely relocate the bees that began nesting in a vehicle at DSF, right around the corner from Bostrom. And they were relocated to a happy place, I don't know where, but we want to thank our students, though, for advocating and listening, and our staff for listening and responding so quickly. So thank you. Recently, I had an opportunity to visit at the Burton Library 130, maybe 150 rising sophomores, so they're going to be sophomores next year, while they attended the Calvin Good Emerging Leaders Program. They came on their days off, they woke up early, and they made their way to the library to learn college readiness skills and insights. They focused on leadership development, networking, understanding the value of post-secondary education and pathways, including the impact it will have on your lifetime learning. Participants will share what they learn with their peers upon returning to campus next year. And I want to thank all of those who participated, all the counselors, Terry Haggerty, anyone who played a part in it. Got a chance to talk to a lot of students that day, and they are just excited and ready to get started next year. So thank you. A couple of exciting updates at Metro Tech and Trevor Brown. Tonight, you will approve the GMP, the greatest maximum price for Metro Tech, or guaranteed maximum price, sorry. We will start working on buildings 1 and 2 and the west side of campus, as well as the gym, softball, and soccer fields. We're excited to get this project completed to benefit our incredible CTE and overall campus at Metro Tech. They have been more than patient. Trevor Brown is also near completion. We hope to have it ready for the start of the school year. We added 30,000 square foot building, renovated the library, and remodeled outdoor athletic fields and concession stands. I believe we also did some charging stations as well in partnership with a local Elementary District. So if you haven't been out to TGB lately, I encourage you to go take a look at the beautiful work that's been done for our students, staff, and community. All of this work is thanks to our local community support, which is overwhelmingly supportive to help us pass our last 2 district bonds. We can't thank our community enough for their support. For those in attendance this evening, you likely saw the work being done in the parking lot of this building. We are still in the engineering phases on the designs, and we'll begin work next school year on the parking structure. It's not pretty, but it is long overdue, and it is absolutely required, because when you no longer can park on the roof, you know it's not safe. So the bottom level has been deemed safe. I don't want to start rumors, but it rains down there, so be careful. And it's just time to re-envision the parking so the access is improved and safer. Early this evening, the board approved a contract for the baseball and softball fields at North High School. Again, a long-awaited renewal. Based on your approval, we're going to begin immediately working on the project design and hope to kick this project off immediately at the start of the school year. I want to thank our incredible logistics and construction teams for all their hard work, the renderings. They can now play baseball and softball at the same time. I know that sounds kind of assumed, but it wasn't at North. They're landlocked there, and they would have to move the fence depending on who is playing, and it just made scheduling. And so you can see the before. And I'm not even sure about the safety of that field. It just doesn't look right. I wouldn't guess it was an aerial of a baseball field. And of course, the other ones are rendering, but it is going to be beautiful, it's going to be safe, and it's going to allow for multiple games to be played at the same time. All right, as we close this report this evening, I want to recognize those on contract, those who work addendum contracts, summer curriculum teams, summer school workers, cafeteria workers, safety, and teachers. Lastly, I want to thank our maintenance team that works so hard over the summer, our logistics, rain or shine, to make sure our schools are ready. They get us through storm season. It never stops for them. So we think we're off for the summer, but these teams are not. We couldn't do this work without you. And with that, I turn it back over to President Napa.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. The next item is 7A, 2024-25 Governing Board Goals Preliminary Data Outcomes. Ms. Andrade.
Great. President Napa, members of the board, as you may recall, back in October of 2024, the board adopted a set of one-year goals. We have since revisited those goals and made some tweaks and adjustments to them. And then we will be going out for community feedback on them at the start of the year. But we did adopt those goals in October for 1 year. And so we thought tonight we were going to go ahead and share from the October goals, the data that we do have. Now, we certainly don't have all the data. The CCRI data is going to be a little lagged because of some of the components coming from the state. But we're excited anytime we get data, and we want to be able to share that. Again, those goals were from Aspire in the 9th grade to where they land in ACT in the 11th grade, as well as we had an ELL goal and we had an absenteeism goal. I want to remind everyone that what you're going to be looking at tonight isn't outright proficiency on ACT. If you're interested in that, I can share that with you, what we did for outright proficiency. But this is the way the goal was written. This is students who will exceed where ACT predicted them to be. So for example, in the 9th grade, when Johnny took the Aspire, he maybe scored a 10 out of 30 or something. And ACT said, well, if he stays in 9th grade and he stays in 10th grade and continues to go to school every day, he is expected to get a 16 on ACT. Well, we want him to go to school, get exposure to the curriculum, amazing teachers, and then we look, did he exceed the 16? Did he go beyond that? Did we push his personal best? And maybe he scored an 18, which that means he exceeded where ACT told us he would land. Now, that still wouldn't be proficiency because you need a 19 for the state to say you're proficient. and you need even higher for ACT to believe you're proficient. But those students will be counted as growth students for us. So I just want to be clear and just point out that what we're looking at tonight are predicted scores, and did students exceed their predicted scores on ACT? If you're interested in flat out proficiency, we can share that as well. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the Teaching and Learning Achievement Team, led by Ms. Laura Tejas.
Well, thank you, Ms. Andrade, and good evening, President Napa, board members, and our Phoenix Union community. We're really excited this evening to share an overview of our progress and some preliminary look at outcomes for the board goals that were adopted last fall. So to get us started, we're going to share our goals. You'll see here the first two goals are multifaceted and related to our ACT data, primarily and specifically our reading and our math data. You will also recall that we wanted to measure the ACT data for 3 different groups of students, and you can see those on the screen. We hope to see how our freshman students scored on the ACT Aspire. Please note that this is a state-required exam. And then we wanted to see how they scored as juniors on the ACT, also a state-required exam. As a reminder, Ms. Andrade just mentioned this, we're looking at their predicted scores. We really wanted to see if we could grow our students to meet and exceed those predicted scores. This slide shows the 3 other board goals that were adopted last fall. Tonight, we will share how our language learning or emerging bilingual students performed on the state-required proficiency assessment called AZELA, and to learn more about the steps that we've taken and the results around chronic absenteeism. Please note, as mentioned, Goal 4, which is a shining star for Phoenix Union, our college and career readiness, will not be reported this evening. That's because our data for graduation won't be collected until after summer school finishes. Scores on exams like AP and IB are still coming in. FAFSA, or financial aid, and you heard some success around that, actually doesn't close until the end of June. And some of our CT internships are still underway. We'll bring the data around this goal at a future date. Now, board, you might recall when we were working towards establishing our goals and looking at appropriate progress monitoring intervals, we shared some of our challenges with student mobility. Simply stated, this is the number of students who start and finish their high school career with us. In order for us to report back on ACT goals, we have to have 2 data points, one that freshman year and a second one their junior year. On the slide, you'll see the top graph. These are the enrollment trends for the class of 2025 that just graduated. You will note at the bottom of that graph in green is the school year 2021-22, or their freshman year. This class began with just over 6,400 students, peaked just shy of 7,300 students. However, you'll notice when they started their sophomore year, in 2022-23, enrollment dropped to 6,795. You can see that the enrollment continues to decline in the purple area for the school year 2023-24, and finally in peach or salmon, the class of 2025 ended with an enrollment of about 5,151 students. Again, why does this matter? We need those 2 data points in order to be able to do the calculations. We are hopeful that our work to address barriers to learning, negative behaviors, and improving absenteeism will in turn cause our enrollment to be more stable. When mobility decreases, our ability to look at proficiency rates increase. The bottom of the graph on the slide shows next year's seniors, or the class of 2026. This group just recently took their ACT exams. You will note that their freshman year is in blue for the 2022-23 school year, and you will see a similar trajectory related to enrollment. With this information as context, we will now transition to share our ACT data and AZELA data with Mr. Camp and end our presentation this evening with Ms. Tarkington sharing more about our attendance data. And now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Mr. Tony Camp, Executive Director for Teaching and Learning.
Thank you, Ms. Tejas. Good evening, President Napa, Clerk Oliver, governing board members, and everyone here present tonight, both in person and virtual. Our first goal we are reporting on is goal number 1, to increase the number of students exceeding their predictor ACT reading score by 3%. And our baseline was 7%, and our goal for that group was 10%. Additionally, we aim to increase the percentage of Black African American students in cohort 2026 by 5%, as well as our Native American students in this cohort by 5%. Now, as a reminder, Ms. Tejas just mentioned the mobility rate of 2 cohorts specifically, and the results for goal number 1 and goal number 2 are indicative of the students' predictor scores from the Aspire to ACT, as both Ms. Andrade and Ms. Tejas mentioned, meaning those students that have 2 data points and took both tests. And the great news for our board is that our district-wide and campus-wide efforts to increase as many students taking state assessments as possible is working well. I'm sorry. In fact, our baseline data that we used last year included 73% of our entire student body. So 73% of our students during our baseline year had both test scores. And this year, with this data, we have increased that to just above 81% of our students that have taken both of those tests. So how did our first year with our board identified goals go? As you can see from the table on this screen, our goal was, again, to increase by 3% for all students, and we have exceeded that percentage, increasing from 7% to 11%, which is a 4% increase. We came very close to reaching our goal of increasing our Black African American students in this cohort that exceeded by 5%. However, we did not meet this goal, as the number of students increased by only 4%, not 5%. And we did surpass our goal with our Native American students increasing from 3% to 10%, which was a 7% increase from our baseline year. Our second goal focuses on increasing student outcomes with math. We aim to have students in this cohort exceed their predicted score by 3% as well. And just like our previous goal, our Black African American students and our Native American students increasing 5%. This table shows the outcome of our math goal, and that PXU again exceeded its overall goal for all students in cohort 2026 by 6%, which was twice what our goal was. And while we did not meet the specific targets for Black African American and Native American students, as indicated by the red X on the chart, we did grow within our Black African American students with a 4% increase and our Native American students with a 3% increase. Now, these are statistically identifiable positive gains with only having less than a year to focus on these target goals. Now for our third goal, that is to increase the percentage of students scoring English proficient on the spring Azella reassessment by 5%, from the baseline of 16% to 21%. Just as another reminder to the board and our community, this goal is focused on the 4,793 students that are in our ELL program who were eligible for the Azella reassessment and are either learning or solidifying their learning of English as a second or even third language to eventually become bilingual or even multilingual. And these amazing students account for almost 20% of our total district enrollment. As you can see, this table comparing the 23-24 baseline year to this school year shows the total number of students tested that are that are in one of the 3 reclassification levels striving towards proficiency. And as you can see, we tested 3,817 students this year. The asterisk on this table indicates Phoenix Union's best effort to identify those students that the state will actually count as full academic year, and we should receive this confirmed data when we receive our annual letter grades. And so with the 556 students that you see here reclassifying, meaning they scored proficient on the Azella, that is a 15% reclassification rate for this year. So unfortunately, we did not meet this goal of an increase of 5% as indicated by the red X. Now this slide here depicts the 3 different levels of proficiency within the SEI model leading up to proficiency. And our board goal that I just reported on is counting or measuring the total number of students in any of these 3 levels that scored as fluent English proficient or as depicted in this diagram proficient. So again, our goal focused on any of those 3 levels actually reaching proficiency. With any data story comes the importance and understanding, and the, importance of understanding of the complexity of such an important and complex goal. That is why it is crucial for the board and the community to see the progress of each proficiency level within the EL program. And so students that show enough growth within 1 year generally reclassify into the next category. And if they show tremendous growth, they can actually reclassify 2 or 3 proficiency levels as a result of their performance on the Azella test. Now, I would like to start by referencing our first or entry-level students you see on the left here, our pre-emergent or emergent students. Now, many of these students in this group have experienced significant educational gaps prior to coming to Phoenix Union. A student at the pre-emergent or emergent level of English proficiency may enter high school with little to no ability to understand or produce English, and they often rely on gestures, visuals, or most often their home language to communicate. These students may also, my apologies. These students may also have significant gaps in formal education, making it difficult to engage with grade level content or classroom routines without intensive support. Now, this group also includes our this group also includes our students that are classified as newcomers. And we define newcomers as students that have recently arrived to the U.S. within the last year and enrolled in one of our high schools. And so now I'll provide more context with this slide here regarding each proficiency level. And for the context of this presentation, the title of the slide, Making Progress Rates, it means that students grew from either 1 proficiency level or more towards proficiency. This slide shows the first level of proficiency, which is our pre-emergent students. And it's important to know that over 40% of our students currently are enrolled in this level. So that number, 1689, of the total number of students that we tested here, that's over 40% of our students that are in the EL program. For this school year, you can see we tested a much higher number of students, and the total number of students that grew in this category also increased. But due to the high increase in enrollment of students in this proficiency level, our overall proficiency of students making progress this year did not increase. This is important detail to consider when not only monitoring goals of this nature, but also for short-term and long-term goals, as well as consideration of differentiated supports for our campuses. The next level of proficiency, the basic level, also basic making progress rates on this slide are shown here. This data indicates an increase in the percentage of students showing proficiency from 37% to 41%. And this school year, this category is where we showed the most growth. This category of proficiency is what I would like to describe with students who are demonstrating growth in confidence in the social language, or we call it BICS, which research shows can take 1 to 3 years of exposure to a new language, but still requires targeted support to develop the academic language or cognitive academic language proficiency, as we call it, needed for success in multiple content area classes. And this, as research says, can take anywhere from 5 to 7 years. And for those in the audience that might be doing the math, this group of students equates to an additional 39% of our EL students. So from the pre-emergent level and the basic level, that mainly is 83% of our students in the EL program that are at those first 2 levels. And finally, the intermediate making progress rates for this spring. Intermediate students have solidified their social language, and they just need a little bit more growth in their academic language skills. These students definitely demonstrate that they have a strong command of the verbal language, but are still not proficient in other skills such as reading comprehension, grammar, and syntax. And oftentimes students get real comfortable in this level as well, and so that often causes some extra issues. As a result of this category that our reclassification rate shows, we almost had the same reclassification rate with a slight 1% increase in students moving to proficient. And now at this time, I would like to turn it over to Ms. Tarkington who will be closing out this preliminary data outcomes presentation with goal number 5. As soon as I pass the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Camp. Good evening, President Napa, governing board members, Ms. Andrade, and PXU community. Tonight, I have the opportunity to share the final outcome of our chronic absenteeism goal, which was to reduce our rate by 5% at 80% of our campuses. As a reminder, students are chronically absent when they miss 10% of the school year. And this year, we defined that as 18 full school days or more, including excused and unexcused absences. One example I'd like to provide is of a student who starts missing 2 days a month at the beginning of the school year in August. While 2 days a month in high school might not sound like a big deal or that serious, if that trend continues, by April, the student will have missed 18 days and may likely exceed missing 10% of the school year. So just want to frame that a little bit for us. But now let's get to our results. This is the first of 2 slides showing our results. These 4 schools are the only campuses that either decreased or maintained their chronic absenteeism rate. Both Bostrom and Linda Brill decreased, and while they didn't quite meet the goal of decreasing by 5%, keep in mind that these are 2 of our support schools under the alternative school designation, and so this took a lot of work and outreach supporting our students to attend regularly. Keep up this trend, Bostrom and Linda Brill. Maryvale, one of our largest campuses, has neither increased nor decreased their rate, but I did want to highlight them as well. And lastly, congratulations to Wilson College Prep. This is the sole school that not only met, but surpassed the goal with their chronic absenteeism rate decreasing by 7%. Congratulations, Principal Caballero, Wilson staff, and of course their dedicated students and families. So let's take a look at the data district-wide. From left to right, you'll see 4 columns. The first column lists our sites with our district data on the top row. The second column shows the baseline rates from the 23-24 school year. And the third column shows where we were mid-year during our progress monitoring presentation at the January governing board meeting. Note at that time, we believed that we were going to meet our goal with 14 schools trending, reducing their rate after their first semester, and that was compared to the previous full school year, and 9 schools had already reduced by 5%. Finally, the last column is our end-of-year chronic absenteeism rates, which ultimately increased by 4% district-wide. It's critically important to share that we've been reflecting on our systems, strategies, and practices, and of course on the lessons we learned as we saw the data trending upwards several weeks ago. Absenteeism, or attendance, depending on how you look at it, has its share of complexities, and our approach to keeping students in school addressed multiple branches of focus in our second semester. First, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the start of 2025 presented a general sense of fear and anxiety among many of our families. A change in administration, a focus on immigration, questions about agency access or potential access to their children. Our students initiated an anxiety in general about attending school. And this was a familiar state of affairs that Phoenix Union has seen before in the past, and we addressed it. Additionally, there were other challenges that I shared with you last month when I brought revisions to the Code of Conduct. Those changes in the code address those students who do come to school, but who are not always in class. We asked campuses to launch strategies for those students wandering or out of class without permission, ditching. And we also addressed students who were excessively late or tardy to their classes. While we had some success piloting these new systems, one unintended consequence was that many of our staff trained in case managing and check and connect with those students at risk of becoming chronic shifted some of their focus to working with those students requiring out-of-class interventions. All of the efforts were with the intention to keep our students in class learning. If you look at several of the schools, their chronic absenteeism did go up quite a bit in the second semester. In a year-long approach, as shared in the example, there's naturally an increase in the second semester as we get closer to those 18 absences. So all of that said, this summer, our focus is on preparing to roll out a multi-strategy plan with how we can really support strong attendance, keeping all of that in mind. This includes multiple departments who are working together. We're forming a new campaign that we're excited about, right, Mr. Franco? We will equip our campus staff with automated reports with varying absence thresholds, push out notifications to our parents through our Parent Square communication platform, a new platform, and then also preparing our leaders with protocols that better define all roles and responsibilities associated with emphasizing strong attendance, as well as combating excessive tardies, ditching, and chronic absenteeism. We will be partnering with our staff, our teachers, and of course our parents. We know that direct services and interventions for our students are key, as well as a balanced process for holding students accountable. Our policies, exhibits, and regulations that we've brought you this month allow us to look at this much more holistically, and we're refreshing our protocols and training our staff. We know we have our work cut out for us. We also know that the board is considering absenteeism reduction as a guardrail that keeps our students on the path to strong achievement outcomes, as we've talked about tonight. And now I'll stop for the governing board to hold their discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to reflect and just be very appreciative of the work that goes into collect this data for the board. I know it's a lot of data across the district. Aggregating the raw data and putting it into a form that we can understand is a monumental task. I also want to just mention too, just commend our campuses. We are all working on this to move our students in the right direction, to decrease absences, to increase achievement, and that task is not easy. So greatly appreciate all the work and the strategies that were put into place to move where we could and then reassess where we fell behind. I have a question about slide 15. Can we get slide 15 up there? The chronic absenteeism. There we go. So looking at the chronic baseline total from 23 to 24, we can clearly see that there's a trend in the right direction, right? We went from 49% to 45% in that first semester for overall Alhambra, 55 to 51%. And then looking at our end of year chronic absentee total, have we identified how can I say this? The chronic absenteeism, have we identified the students or the numbers that are absolutely not coming back versus the ones that were chronically absent and will return for the next school year? And I'm asking that because I'm trying to identify, I know we have staff that go out and call students and do those interventions, work with families to get at the root cause of the absenteeism. I'm wondering how much of these chronically absent will be returning and how many we just don't know because they disappeared.
Thank you, President Napa, Governing Board, Ms. Andrade. So I think there's a few categories that you're mentioning. So our students that withdraw and we don't know where they've gone, those are the students that are disengaging and that we're concerned about dropping out. Is that the group that you're talking about? Absolutely. So that is really what our engagement center and engagement teams are busy working on. And that's not only our district and division group, but the extension of the engagement center are these engagement teams on our campuses as well. So we do know those students based on our codes, and those are the students we'll be, calling and looking for and really trying to do an intake with them to talk to those families to say, like, what's it going to take to get you back? And if you desire to go back to the school that you left or your home school, then we need to wrap around with those services, such as the mentors we have out of the engagement centers and really an intervention plan. But also sometimes we may have to help identify another school in our portfolio to help them settle into because of whatever's happening in their life that may make that a better fit.
Ms. Tarkington, is it possible, however, that these students in this last column are the students that we're speaking of that actually withdraw or have been absent for 10 or more consecutive days are no longer in these totals based on when this data was pulled? And then that's a bucket that we have to address. But these are the intermittent kids that miss a day or two, come back for a week or two, miss another day or two, and it's just added up over the year from August, and now it's 18 or more. I think at one point my daughter was in that category. And so, I mean, is that what we're looking at, cleaned up data with withdrawals removed, I should say, or dropouts removed?
Yes, and I'm sorry, I was trying to answer the question about what about the kids that maybe aren't here. So yeah, no, definitely. We have a lot of those students. Our students, they don't leave us. They don't come to school consistently. And so that is really where that partnership, messaging, communication comes from, because it adds up quickly.
Another question, is there any more on this? No, we're good. The engagement centers on each campus, they are staffed. Are we staffed at the capacity that we need to be to do interventions and to identify how we can help these students?
President Napa, Governing Board, Ms. Andrade, I'm keenly aware that I've got leaders in the back of the room, so I'm going to try to answer this the best I can. So when I mention engagement teams, so part of that is that our 3 liaison groups that work with, under the direction of Ms. Tercero and the engagement center team, this is what they eat, breathe, and sleep. I think that part of the reflection that I was sharing is that both in the conversations and principals meetings, in various job alikes group, our student support teams, our intervention teams, I mean, this is the ongoing discussion is, we need our kids in school when they're in school, engaged in their classroom. I think that most people would say, we need an army of people to help with this, but we're also trying to figure out how we work smarter, not harder. And so when I say that, under Ms. Tejas' leadership, she's facilitated these data team meetings where we've had not only our data coaches and teams from teaching and learning, but from our research and TASI place so that we can really have consistent, ongoing ways that we're keeping up. So to your point, the volume is huge. Mm-hmm. And I even had one of our own directors as we were talking, and I'm always bouncing, our presentation off of them to say, I use that 2-day-a-month illustration to say, our families, we get there quickly. And so part of what we're also looking at is that because we're high school, a lot of the framing, some of us high school snobs believe in terms of the statutes with attendance. When you look at maybe a second grader in the full 180 days, it looks a little different than when you're in high school and you have a 90-day semester and a credit. To start to take a look next year, semester by semester, because again, really focusing on, look, don't hit that 9, don't hit that 10, be in school. Really what we're also saying is we want you learning that math and we want you learning that English and science and reading so that your achievement and your connection to your education is stronger. So I think, to put it simple, we know this is not the time right now to be asking for more positions. We're in tough times with enrollment. We're trying to align our roles and responsibilities better and make our systems more efficient so that we can stay on top of that with that shorter chunk of time to keep our kids going, and then maybe look at, then we come to second semester and your clock starts again. If that makes sense. And hopefully I don't get in trouble with my data people back there, because we're meeting every day, like working on this because in Admin Academy in Staff in Service Week, we're going to roll out like our new processes for this.
Yes.
Thank you, President Napa, for the question. I think something that's not been mentioned that is vitally important to this is our parents. I think sometimes our parents don't fully understand the impact of absences. A month doesn't seem like a big deal, but it does add up over time. And so part of what we are going to be working on this next year is really messaging with our families the importance of coming to school regularly and what that impact is. And so you'll see some of that reflected in the attendance policies that you're reviewing this evening as well.
Madam President, I have two questions here for the committee. So I do appreciate this information. It's very helpful. So just to clarify, if someone could explain. So I just want to get clarification on how a student is classified as a newcomer. And I think I understood it to be as a student who has arrived to the U.S. within the past year and is enrolled in the school district and is in the EL program, or is that classification applied to all of them? And then a second question will be in regards to, the report attributed the current administration, I assume that means the Trump administration, as part of the issues for the chronic absenteeism. So if someone could just help clarify, are those attributes made upon like community feedback, student feedback, parent feedback? I'm trying to understand where those attributes to the Trump administration being part of the chronic absenteeism as reasons for chronic absenteeism. If someone could just help clarify, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, President Napa, Board Member Cota. I can answer the newcomer question. You are correct in your statement of the understanding of the newcomer, and that is within the ELD model. And then I'll pass it to Ms. Tarkington for the other question.
Actually, I'll chime in first, and then I'll give Ms. Tarkington an opportunity to respond. We did hear loud and clear from our community with the shifts in leadership in the country, a tremendous amount of fear associated with what maybe policies would be and what our families might be experiencing.
I would say additionally, President Napa, members of the board, you're aware we hosted some family workshops, as we do with family and community engagement, around just understanding and knowing your rights if you were to be stopped. And there was an outpouring of attendance at those, virtual and in person family workshops, of just fear of either coming home and not having their families there or their brothers or sisters. I don't know that there's any way, though, back to your question, to truly correlate it to that. We just know that we saw attendance go down at times, and that's something that we know could have played a role. But it's not proven statistically anywhere. We'll have to continue. If we see this kind of a drop again, maybe we'll find something else. I do think it's about asking our families and our students what those barriers are and why they didn't come to school. So,
Any further questions, comments? Board Member Cross.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to the ELL. We evidently had a goal to go up from 16% to 21%, correct? With such a large group in the far left, the 40% in the first round and 39% in the basic, is our goal too high? I mean, I don't see kids moving from the very first pre-engagement all the way over to proficiency that fast, especially when it takes 5 to 7 years in some of these cases for academic languages. Am I making sense?
Absolutely. President Napa, Board Member Cross, thank you for the question. Yes, it's important just to understand our population as a whole with all three of those levels and just how many are in the pre-emergent and basic level. And in terms of like our goal being too high, I think as we continue our work after this summer and getting feedback for the 5-year goals or 3-year goals or whatnot and guardrails, I think it's important to consider possibly interim goals with each level. And then in terms of the statistics or the research that you were talking about, those are under normal circumstances. And what we try to do with a lot of our additional supplemental resources, plus not only securing and implementing a strong curriculum, but making sure that that curriculum is taught, making sure that it is what's being used in the classroom. And so I know you heard tonight some concerns about a change in the EL model, primarily around staffing. We are looking at opportunities for those campuses that have the highest numbers within that category. A couple come to mind right now, but and offering differentiated supports, because that's what equity is about and not equality. And so I think the feedback we receive from the community, plus some further statistics that we break down, we call it our RASP data, so it really shows all of our levels, where their growth is. It will help the board to determine if we should have an overall proficiency goal and or interim goals within each level, because that really shows that we're focusing on the growth of our students. Our teachers are amazing, and they work very hard. Obviously, as you heard Ms. Tarkington tonight, attendance has a lot to do with that. So we're hopeful to see improvement in here, in addition to further enhancing the supplemental resources that students have access to.
President Napa, Board Member Cross, I think another consideration that's extremely important, this population of students is very transient, and so it's tough for us to forecast exactly who's going to come to us and what level of proficiency they'll have. And so to the points that have been made, considering some interim goals once we have a better handle on the population makes a lot of sense.
So to Board Member Cross's question of, is the 5% really too high?
Ms. Andrade.
President Napa, members of the board, I think it's important that our intermediate students, and again, I would also like to talk to our EL teachers across the district as well. Our intermediate students, I do expect to move into proficiency. They do get comfortable with the language because they can survive at the intermediate level. I'd like to see that for that level. I'd like to see progress, though, at the lower levels at a minimum. So I think it's both, and the state actually measures both. They measure, did you make progress, and then the number of proficiencies. So maybe we could model something closer to the state and also hear from our teachers and think what they think about that, because again, attendance does play a role, and language plays a role. There's different, not all languages are created equal. There are teachers out there teaching the alphabet, brand new, and then there's others that come with a little bit of similarity in the structure and the syntax of academics and language from schooling, formal schooling. There's others that need to be taught how to hold a pencil, literally. So not all ELs are created equal, even if they're all put in pre-emergent or emergent category as well. So I do think there's a two-pronged goal that can measure how we're doing as a district.
President Napa, governing board members, if I can just say real quick, as we continue working as a board with student outcomes focused governance and fine-tuning what our goals will be, we can definitely bring more data, historical data of overall proficiency rates of us as a district, and still shoot for a SMART goal, right, which is reasonable and attainable. And so I look forward to those conversations with board retreats in the future.
Thank you.
Madam President. Superintendent Andrade, I think with the student outcomes focused governance model, we're going to start giving presentations to different stakeholder groups. I wonder if we could plan a stakeholder group specifically open to all EL teachers in the district and to deep dive just on this goal. I would like to do that maybe this summer if possible, and see if they can help us refine what that goal looks like for the next school year or future school years.
I agree. As the board goes out to the community, we can tailor one specifically for English language learner teachers. I also think teachers go on vacation in the summer and they just need their time out, and we ask so much of them. And I think that in today's busy world, there's a lot of different ways to get what they think. Some are going to show up and tell you what they think, and the timing of that will matter. Others might want to take a survey and give feedback that way, anecdotally or through just answering questions. So I think there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of talented teachers out there to give us the best ideas. Actually, probably going to be tougher on themselves than we would be, but I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, just let us know the best time to do that, and happy to be there. President Napa, one more follow-up. Mr. Camp, I just wanted to highlight the progress on goals 1 and 2 around ACT scores for ELA and math. I think we saw progress in all of our categories, even though we didn't meet our goals for the disaggregated student groups in I guess 3 of the sub-goals. But I guess I'm curious if you have thoughts on interventions that were successful this last school year in making that progress, and for specifically the student groups that we disaggregated, the Black and African American students, the Native American students, what further interventions do we need in the next school year?
President Napa, Board Member Marquez, thank you for the question. I appreciate, and I'm sure all the teachers in the district appreciate that recognition for that improvement. Even though we didn't reach our goal, that's why we have goals, right? Like, try to reach for the moon, maybe you'll get close. We have recently, much more this year, implemented a supplemental support through actually the connection with NWEA, if you recall our benchmarks. It actually puts students on an identified path where they're at, similar to the NWEA test that meets the students where they are and then increases that rigor a little bit. There are support tools that we have access to this year, and we've done a better job of communicating that out and incorporating that into instruction. And that's called Exact Path. And what that does is that provides them that that's practice, that skill to improve in that area. You also heard last month that one of our campuses around the HBCU tours also promoted ACT practice prep. And we also continue to embed ACT practice with our students. Ms. Andrade talks about not necessarily just one focus of ACT and that's it. Don't put all our marbles in one basket. I guess it's eggs in a basket, right? But it's still important for students to practice time tests because most of their assessments throughout the year are not timed. And so we want to make sure that our students are prepared for that type of test, but also work on the skills. And we're making efforts, again, in collaboration with other divisions, like Ms. Tarkington said, around how we really implement these and make our advisory period more effective in terms of really identifying 4 to 5 things that they should be doing during advisory. And one of those is Exact Path. And so ACT prep happens to be another one. And so we will continue to work on encouraging more and more use of these practices, as well as focusing, which is the most important part, on Tier 1 instruction. And so our work with GVC, essential standards, and grading practices and assessment practices will also help to attain this goal.
President Napa.
Yes.
So I was wondering if, regarding the time tests, do you all have any, do you focus any attention to test anxiety that students might face? Just given that, like, I know some students might, feel uneasy with time tests, but it's a necessary requirement of the ACT.
President Napa, Board Member Meyer, thank you. Yes, I have firsthand experience with test anxiety myself. But in addition to practicing on the time test pieces, there's also work on test-taking skills and strategies to help reduce anxiety, to help focus, to help, for example, on the science portion, you don't really have to be a scientist, you have to be a good reader, and so there are skills, syntax and decoding skills that are also taught. But yes, testing anxiety is definitely something that our teachers and our students obviously deal with quite often. And they do their best during such a high-stakes test environment to try and calm the students. They provide snacks, they provide water, they do get a break. And so we do implement those things in line with the requirements of the state for the test, while still maintaining testing security. So just that day is stressful in and itself, but we continue to work on all those test-taking strategies with students. We can always get better, but it is definitely a thing.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? Moving on. Thank you so much. Item 7B, Superintendent Evaluation Policy Discussion with Potential Next Step Action. Ms. Andrade.
Okay, President Napa, members of the board. Tonight, we've just set aside some time to discuss and explore a new model of superintendent evaluation, one that Member Marquez has actually worked on and been exposed to in the past. This model relies, it's a new approach, right? It relies on the board goals to actually have no emotion in it, right? It's like you either met your goals or you didn't, and that links to your evaluation. It also relies on some community feedback or feedback from various stakeholders in the form of 360. If you've ever had to take a 360 feedback, it's a pretty intense process. Sometimes it'll make you cry, sometimes it'll make you smile, but it's honest and it's anonymous, and it's supposed to be designed for constructive feedback for people. I've experienced it myself. Again, right now, our superintendent evaluation is very much similar to like what a teacher maybe goes through. There's different categories and elements within the category, and it's sort of like a FAME scale of like a 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And you sort of get a GPA, so to speak, if you will. And we're just trying to shift that and align the systems across our district so that whether you like me or not, like, do we get results, right? Or you could really like me, but we don't get any results. And so am I doing my job? So with that said, I think timelines will be the first thing we probably want to tackle and look at when we think about this type of a policy, because it has to make sense. And when the data comes back, it has to make sense. And right now, the current policy, I believe, calls for boards to evaluate the superintendent in May. And then, of course, maybe give the feedback thereafter. We don't really have a whole lot of data back in May, so it doesn't make sense from a school board that wants to move to a data evaluation. So with that said, I am going to stop talking, let the board engage in conversation around this. This is also something that we can bring to a retreat or a future board item as a first read. But again, just wanted to provide that time for you all to have a discussion around the policy that was proposed in board docs and thoughts on next steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Andrade. Board Member Cross.
Okay, I'm confused, as usual. So we voted on adopting a advisory thing from the 17th, correct? This is different from that, correct? And if it is, I would like to make a motion to add governing board policies through the CBI to the board retreat to discuss that includes duties, responsibilities, data, and goals, all of it. So it's encompassing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. Madam President, Board Member Cross. I think a motion to discuss this at our board retreat makes sense to address policy CBI, which is the evaluation of the superintendent. I submitted this draft change quite a while ago. We haven't ever voted on this. I think this is our first chance to discuss it. This is a model policy based on something that School Board Partners recommends. My recommendation would be that we do put it on our agenda for the July governing board retreat, and we ask Dr. Ramos to review it before then to see how it fits within the student outcomes focused governance model. And, like, I think the highlights here is that 75% of the evaluation is based on the goals, and are we hitting the goals or not? So is that the right percentage? The 360 leadership survey is really our qualitative assessment of how the superintendent is doing, but it also gives the opportunity for all of the direct reports of the superintendent to weigh in, and it's up to the board to decide if we want to include them in that 25%, or if we just want to take into account the 7 of us that are board members into that sort of final 25% of the evaluation. And then the 360 community survey allows anybody in the Phoenix Union community to provide feedback, and that's really not included in the total percentage of the superintendent's evaluation, but it's really for the board to read, what is the pulse of the community, what is the community saying about the overall direction of the district right now based on how the superintendent is performing and how the district is performing. But I do think the one thing for tonight that might be helpful would be just sort of a motion to reset the clock to say we're going to do an evaluation in December based on this last school year, and maybe after the July retreat we could have a first draft of a policy for the following school year based on Dr. Ramos's recommendations of how do we incorporate this within student outcomes focused governance. But tonight I would motion that we plan on a December evaluation and adjusting the rating period for the superintendent to start July 1st and run through June 30th based on the academic and fiscal school year.
I believe we already had a motion on the.
There is a motion from Board Member Cross, and so you need a second to go into discussion.
Yes. Board Member Cross, can you restate your motion, please?
That the governing board policy CBI, add the CBI area to the July 18th or 17th board retreat to discuss.
Mike.
That includes inclusively the superintendent, additional superintendent evaluation method used by other districts using the student outcomes, duties, responsibilities, progress, and data within the whole scope of the evaluation.
Madam President, point of order, I believe, do we need to motion specifically what data points we want to discuss, or can we leave that open?
So before we go into that question, and yes, it can be left open, but we need to know if there's a second on this motion in order to go into discussion, and then you can go into discussion on those points.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Now we can go into discussion.
Madam President, and to Board Member Cross, your motion here, I'm just a little concerned. I don't want us to, I guess, maybe pigeonhole us into exactly what we're discussing. So I'm just a little concerned about maybe we're not including all the data points that we may want to consider included in a possible policy evaluation. So I just want to, I'm not sure I fully am okay with that motion as made.
Board Member Cross.
I guess I'm making the motion so that the evaluation is a total aspect of what she does in her position. When we looked at this, I was seeing 75% on data from math and reading scores. I didn't want 75% on that. I want the full scope of her position and everything she does that should be taken into consideration in her evaluation. Does that make better sense to you?
It does. My concern is the actual motion language is kind of putting us into exactly what we're going to discuss. I think that's what a motion would do here, so that's what I'm a little concerned about that.
President Napa, Board Member Cota, do you have an amendment that you would like to offer?
I don't, because I don't know exactly all the data points to discuss.
Okay.
So I think that's why I'm concerned about putting a motion specifically. I would like a more broader motion, I believe.
Okay, so based off of your information, what you're requesting is just, is there particular data points that she outlined that you want expanded, or would you just like
I actually think we should just have more of a discussion, not actually tell what data points we want yet. So that's where I'm at right now.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Board Member Cross, I think to see if you're willing to amend your motion for the July retreat, that we have a discussion on policy CBI, evaluation of the superintendent, and then you can bring your ideas and this draft policy can be included in that discussion. And if any other board member has a draft policy they'd like to bring to that July meeting, I think I agree with Board Member Cota, maybe just, putting it on the agenda for the July retreat to bring your ideas and be ready to discuss this one and any others that you want to include.
Okay, first of all, I won't be at the meeting.
In July?
July, right, the July 18th. Oh, no, I
Not
will
June,
be there.
July retreat.
Okay, yes, I will be there. But I didn't specifically say what data, I just said data. So any data to me is data. I mean, bring as much data as we want. I just wanted to make sure that her responsibilities and duties and the progress and all that was all inclusive. And data could be as much data as we want. I'm not giving any specific form of data, I'm just saying the word data.
I'll defer. I just think the motion specifically would actually limit us to what's mentioned in the motion as what we can discuss.
So if, President Napa, if I can suggest how to reword this. As Board Member Marquez pointed out, you could do just a motion that allows this to be placed, or ask for this to be placed on the agenda for the July retreat. And then each board member can talk specifically to the superintendent by whatever date to give her whatever information you would like to be brought and presented at the time of the July retreat, so that each one of your specific data points or information that you're seeking will be presented at that time. If you're open to that.
I'm open.
Okay. So somebody would need to make that
Would you like me to
motion.
withdraw my motion?
You could withdraw it, and we could do a new motion. Yes, ma'am.
All right, I will withdraw my motion.
And I don't want to complicate the motion moving forward, but I do want to say that we will have Dr. Ramos at the July retreat, and he works with districts across the country on this governance model. And not to say that we'd have to adopt any kind of exact model, but he could bring some examples, or we could get you some examples, and you could pull from different ideas of what you like to make it your own. So I can get that information to you prior to the July retreat from Dr. Ramos of how other districts in this governance model evaluate their superintendent with a data focus. Thank you.
So then I would like to motion to put it on the July board retreat agenda for further discussion. All right, discussion? All right, motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Can I make a second motion on this item that we, without changing anything about the current evaluation, we just we change the timeline for the next evaluation to be in December, and that moving forward, the evaluation's rating period will be July through June. So my motion is that we change the rating period for the superintendent today to start with this next school year, which would be July 1st through June, and that we'll have a trial of this evaluation, even if we use the current evaluation tool in December of this coming year. Does that motion make sense, Eileen?
It does. It does.
Motion, do we need a second. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. Got a motion and a second. Discussion, please. All right, then. Vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries.
President Napa?
Yes.
Just to be clear, that will require a policy change from what you currently have. So that's the starting point that we'll have for any changes that we make to this existing policy. Okay?
Thank you. Next item is 9A, approval of 2027-28, 2028-29, 2029-30, 2030 to 2031, and 2030 to 2032 district calendars. Ms. Andrade.
Okay, just to clarify, President Napa, in April, we brought to you these 5 years that you just read out for approval. At that time, 28, 29, and 29, 30 were approved by the board, and the remaining 3, the first and the last 2, were not. And at that time, the team was directed to reconvene, examine our fall break, our Indigenous Peoples Day, and how that could work to align with the calendar. So tonight, at the current status, we are resubmitting the other 3 calendars for approval while we launch a community outreach campaign to get information on this item, to get ideas on this item, to see what it is our teachers and our schools and our families and our students want and would like to be able to bring back recommendations for this board to hear. And at that point, if there's a change to the calendar, we can amend it. But, you know, as a reminder, our partner districts are waiting on our calendars, so I'd like to be able to move forward, but with the caveat that we will relook at this topic.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the district calendars 2027 to 2028, 2030 to 2031, and 2031 to 2032, and amend as future feedback comes in from stakeholders?
I motion.
Second.
I heard a second from Representative Marquez. So motion is made by myself, seconded by Representative Marquez. Is there any discussion? I just have some comments. I just want to thank Superintendent Andrade and all the support that we've received and the feedback I've received upon this, because this was my request to specifically make sure that PXU students have the option to observe Indigenous Peoples Day, and the fact that intermittently our fall break does fall on it. It does cost money to observe holidays, and I hope that we do move forward to look at our budget, look at our schedules, and to make sure that we can include Indigenous Peoples Day observation in the same way that we do other holidays. Thank you for all that work. On the motion, those in favor, thank you. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Next item is 11NN, approval of proposed 2025-26 expenditure budget. Dr. De Alba.
President Napa, Clerk Oliver, members of the governing board, superintendent, and community. Each year, school districts in Arizona are required to submit the proposed expenditure budget by July 5th, and then submit a finalized adopted expenditure budget by July 18th. The purpose of this presentation is to provide a brief overview of the proposed expenditure budget for the 2025-2026 school year. To begin, I will provide a brief overview of the context on the status of the state budget. This just came in today. ADE is estimating a shortfall of $200 million. Therefore, full funding may not be available for the June payment. Not to worry, our district has enough cash to be able to carry us forward, and so it should not affect our district. Until the state budget is finalized, we'll get the total allocation that is due to us. While the state budget is not finalized, we expect a 2% per pupil increase, compensating for inflation, and Prop 123 funding to remain at least at the same level that's currently available. Statewide, JLBC projects a 1.2 decrease in public school enrollment, while anticipating an increase in spending for empowerment scholarships. In regard to the aggregate expenditure limit, the AEL, as it's called, a waiver has been proposed for fiscal year 26, but however has not been finalized. In this slide, I dive deeper into the current hot topic in education funding, Prop 123. In 2016, Arizona voters approved Proposition 123, providing about $300 million to public schools by increasing the distribution from the state land trust. Proposition 123 is set to expire on June 30th, 2025. Currently, Prop 123 is funded from the state land trust at a distribution rate of 6.9%. Without a resolution, funding would revert to the original distribution of 2.5 and would need to come out of the general fund, causing reductions in other areas to cover the shortfall. Currently, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have proposed renewing Prop 123 and maintaining the distribution rate of 6.9. One group proposed allowing funding to be used for teacher salaries and flexible school funding, while another group of lawmakers proposed the use of funds exclusively for teacher salaries and extending its use for ESAs. At this point, disagreements between both groups have stalled work, and Prop 123 has not been placed on the ballot. Next, I will provide a short overview of the enrollment trends for the district. Over the last 4 years, the district has experienced a decrease in enrollment. Using enrollment data reported to ADE, the district has lost about 1,700 students between fiscal year 22 and the current school year. The district is expected to continue declining in enrollment over the next 3 years. Using the 2023 demographic study, it is roughly estimated that the district will lose an additional 1,200 students in the coming years. To address the continued decline in enrollment, the district has implemented a strategic plan that includes a two-prong approach focusing on recruitment and retention. Over the last few years, the district has implemented a comprehensive marketing plan that provides district-wide and site-level marketing to increase enrollment. Each site has also developed action plans to increase student retention by providing specialized academic programming, increased student supports, investments in athletic programs, and other programming catered to students' individual needs and to bring students back to the district. So good job, principals, for working on that. Furthermore, to attract incoming freshmen, the district has implemented a robust freshman house program that you heard about earlier that includes personalized support to help students transition from middle school to high school. These efforts collectively have increased our preliminary 9th grade enrollment compared to last year. Alongside efforts to increase enrollment and retention, the district has also reduced budgets. Over the last 2 years, the district has strategically reduced budgets in all district divisions, closed talent position savings, shifted health insurance anchor plans, and this year used a combination of reserves and budget reductions to ensure fiscal sustainability and maintain a balanced expenditure budget. Thus far, the district has focused budget reductions at the district office. Over the next 3 years, the district will use a combination of one-time reserves and budget reductions to strategically reduce budgets about $41 million. That's in addition to what's already been cut. To address the continued decline in enrollment over the next 3 years, the board appointed a budget committee to identify priorities that will be used to determine future budget reductions in fiscal year 27 and 28. Altogether, these actions ensure the district is fiscally sustainable while continuing to offer a quality program to attract students. Now that you have the context of the district's financial state, I will provide a brief overview of the 2025-26 proposed expenditure budget. Before I begin, I would like to share that the district proposed expenditure budget is an estimate of revenues and expenses that will be incurred next fiscal year, which is based on historical and current year data. Being that this is an estimate, the budget is a dynamic document that can be revised throughout the year. Typically, we revise in December and again in May. As a reminder, schools are funded based on the number of students who show up to school, which is why attendance is really important, inflationary increases to per pupil allocations of 2%, and other factors such as add-ons for special populations such as ELL and ESS students, and also teacher experience. The proposed expenditure budget is based on projected ADM using state-level reporting on average daily membership for the first 100 days of this fiscal year. Over the last 3 years, as I mentioned before, the district's ADM has decreased. The proposed expenditure budget is based on an ADM total of 25,516 students. The district's ADM is expected to decline over the next 3 to 5 years. Overall, the Teacher Experience Index, which is a measure or a score given to districts based on teacher experience, has decreased slightly over the last few years. All these factored together result in a smaller budget than previous year for a total M&O budget of $389 million. The proposed expenditure budget also includes the IBN negotiated salaries approved by the board, resulting in a 1% increase to the base of all salary schedules and one-step increase for all qualified staff. In addition, the salaries include a tier down of the one-time retention and new hire stipend to $2,000 for full-time employees and for $1,000 for part-time employees who qualify. Next year's new teacher salary increased to $53,530. Overall salary increases allow the district to continue attracting quality employees and remain competitive. Overall, so before I get started also, I'm trying to summarize the information that is in these 15 pages that's very convoluted in a more understandable way as much as possible. So please bear with me. Overall, the total M&O budget for the new fiscal year is $389 million, which includes a desegregation budget of about $55 million. As you can see from the pie chart, the majority of the budgeted expenses consist of salaries and benefits, which consist about 87%, followed by purchase services making up 8% and utilities consisting of 4%, and then supplies 2%. On this slide, I provide additional details on the budget expenditures. Overall, the majority of district expenditures, 38%, consist of academic achievement and instructional services, followed by student support services and facilities operations, each at 11%. You may notice that the contingency amount is about 20%. This may seem large, but I would like to remind the board and community that the contingency consists of one-time fund balances that will be used to strategically tier down over the next 3 years. These one-time fund reserves are not recurring, and once used, they will no longer be available. Overall, the district budget's about 49% towards academic achievement and student support. The desegregation budget remains static regardless of enrollment and is about $55 million for our district. The desegregation budget is embedded in the district M&O budget and is part of the $389 million and is primarily used to fund Cesar Chavez, North, and Fairfax High School. The portion represented in black is the district-wide allocation, which is sprinkled throughout the district schools funding for salaries and benefits of specific employees. Aside from state and federal funding, the district relies on local taxes to fund M&O, capital overrides, adjacent ways, dropout prevention, desegregation, and bond budgets. Over the last 5 years, Phoenix Union has maintained a pretty consistent tax rate. The projected tax rate for next year is about $4.29, which consists of a primary tax rate of $1.74 and a secondary tax rate of $2.55. A consistent tax rate is important because it provides fiscal predictability for our taxpayers in the district and stability on district budgets. This concludes the proposed expenditure budget overview. The proposed budget, truth and taxation summary, and both corresponding hearings alongside budget adoption meetings will be advertised in the Arizona Republic as well as posted on the Arizona Department of Education website. The hearings will be held at Phoenix Union High School District Governing Boardroom on June 17th at 6 p.m. Immediately after the hearings, the meeting to adopt the 2025-26 budget will be held. At this point, I will take any questions that you have regarding the budget.
Questions? All right. All right, is there a motion to approve the proposed 2025-26 expenditure budget? Is there a second?
Second.
A motion has been made by Board Member Cross and seconded by Board Member Meyer. Is there any discussion? All right. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you so much, Dr. Dialba.
Thank you.
Next item is 13B, consideration and possible action to appoint a delegate to serve at the Arizona School Board Association Delegate Assembly and reaffirm top 5 district priority considerations as PXU Governing Board. Ms. Andrade.
Okay, President Napa, I'd like to take this in 2 parts. The first, basically, we're asking for the nomination of a delegate from our board to represent Phoenix Union on Saturday, September 6th, 2025, at the ASBA Delegate Assembly at the JW Marriott in Scottsdale. That's part 1. And then part 2, once we have a delegate, I would like each board member to take a look inside your packet. You should have the ASBA's political agenda. That's not it, sorry. It's color-coded over here. They look identical. They're color-coded and they're numbered for you. It starts with a teal, adequately and okay. The first one. The second one in red. If you turn the page, the third one's in purple, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are 7 priorities. You know, again, I imagine if, like, say, rural schools and remote schools is number 5, that might not be an Arizona or Phoenix Union priority because we are not remote or rural for the most part. But again, if we could just reaffirm your top 5, we'll go around in a roll call and just, you can just name your numbers with your first priority being the first one. So it could look something like, we could say Member Meyer and you could say number 1. Which is your number 1, number 6, number 4, number 5, and number 3. And you've named your 5 priorities. That way you don't have to read the titles this late at night and struggle like I do. So I think the best way to do this is to start with a nomination for the delegate to represent Phoenix Union.
Board Member Cross.
I would like to nominate Frankie Pastor Rivera as our delegate.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion to appoint Board Member Pastor Rivera as the PXU delegate. We have a second by Representative Marquez. Is there any discussion? All right, on the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Board Member Pastor Rivera. Part 2.
Do you accept? I accept, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I accept it. Is that what you want me to say?
Thank you so much.
And part 2, if we could start with Ward 1 and then just move through the dais. Jorge and I will collect your responses, but take a minute to look through the 7 priorities. Maybe kind of, yep.
Top 5.
Yep. And pick your top 5, beginning with your first place priority.
Five. Is that, I'm sorry, am I looking at?
Yes, you're selecting 5 in order of importance. So the first number you give us is the
5.
most important.
5.
So your first number is 5. What's your second?
6.
Third?
7.
Fourth?
4.
And last. You don't have to pick one.
Okay,
but I
I'm
mean-
not picking any others.
Okay, that is it. All right. Member Meyer, are you ready?
Could you pass on me? I'm still.
We
I read
absolutely
the
could.
instructions wrong for this part.
That's okay. Member Pastor Rivera, are you ready?
Think so. 3,
Next.
1. 6. I need 2 more, right? 7, excuse me, 7.
Okay.
And then 1 more, right? And then 5.
Okay. Board Member Cross. 3.
3 is improve opportunities, right? Am I reading this right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's my number 1. My number 2 is 7. My number 3 is 6. My number 4 is 2.
And your final?
1.
Member Marquez?
Priority number 1 is number 1, adequately and equitably fund district schools to the national median per pupil funding. Number 2 would be their number 3, improve opportunities and outcomes for all students. Number 3, I'll go with require public accountability and transparency for taxpayer dollars spent on education. And then number 4, preserve and respect and strengthen local control. And then number 5, federal advocacy.
Okay, thank you. Member Oliver?
3, 1, 2, 6, 7.
President Napa? Clerk Oliver.
1, 4, 3, 4, and 5. I'm sorry, 7.
Did you have 4 twice?
Yeah, she
Maybe,
had
I don't
4
know.
twice.
So 1,
Yep.
4, 3, 2, and 7.
Perfect. And Member Meyer, are you ready?
Yes, thank you. So my number 1 is number 3, improve opportunities. My number 2 is number 1, adequately and equitably fund. My number 3 is number 6, school safety and security. My number 4 is federal advocacy. And my number 5 is preserve, respect, strengthen local control.
She had my numbers off.
2.
'Cause I gave
Okay,
number
thank
7
you.
to Safety, and she said it was 6.
We will compile these, share them with the whole board, but specifically with Member Pastor Rivera, so he knows how to best represent Phoenix Union and our priorities. Thank you.
No pressure.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Can I ask a question on that? I had number 7 as school safety, and you had number 6 as school safety?
Correct. Number 7 is federal advocacy, and number 6 is school safety and security.
Okay, so I think I gave my number 2 with a 7, and it should have been a 6, safety, school safety.
Do you want to
fund.
swap your 7 for your 6? Is that what you're saying? 6 is second place now?
Okay, 6. It's getting late. Okay, my number 1 was improve opportunity. My number 2 is school safety. My number 3 is require public accountability. My number 4 was preserve, respect, and strengthen local control. And number 5 was adequately and equitable funding. I just wanted to be clear that you got my numbers right, because I think I got my numbers wrong.
We will make that correction. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is 13C, approval of recommendation for alternative to expulsion placement for student 2024-25-11. Is there a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation for an alternative to expulsion for a student identified as 2024-25-11?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item 13D, approval of revised governing board policy, JIC, student conduct on first reading. Ms. Andrade.
At our last board meeting, we had a robust discussion around the legislation associated with cell phones. And then we took all your feedback, and we are bringing now the two policies, both, gosh, I can't, D and E, sorry, thank you. 13D and 13E both address cell phones in school during the day. Both, if you've had a chance to review them, have made the necessary changes based on your feedback in our discussion, and they are ready for first read approval. Our campuses are anxious to update our student and family handbook, inform our parents, order supplies, just get everything moving. And I'll stop there.
President Napa?
Member Cross.
Yes. Board Member
I'd
Cross.
like to move to combine 13D and 13E.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. We can now move into discussion of these items. Thank you. Board Member Cross.
Okay, this is going to be interesting. I move to approve items 13D and E as presented on first reading and waive the second reading. So we don't have to go through it again. Oh, it's already passed.
We have a motion and need a second.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would ask Board Member Cross to remove the waiving of the second reading. I think it's important to give the community feedback opportunity.
Board Member Cross?
No.
So we have discussion.
Oh, explain why? We've gone through this. We went through it first round. We have a law that's gone into effect. We need to get this into effect and into our paperwork for students coming in August. I think that we need to make a decision now as fast as possible. The reading looked good to me on the first round. I don't think we had a lot of problems. At this point, there's not a lot of discussion when there's already a law in place. So I would rather just, get through this and waive the second reading, and that's where I'm at, so.
Representative Marquez, what school is no longer in session? What kind of community feedback are you envisioning?
Madam Chair, Superintendent Andrade, I'd just be curious to hear your recommendation. I think Board Member Cross makes a good point that we want to have this in place before next school year, but I do remember, we talked a little bit with the Superintendent's Advisory Council about these changes. I know we are complying with state law, and I know there was actually some discussion about piloting different models of implementation at different campuses. But if you recommend waiving the second reading and passing this today, I support that. But if you have a different perspective, I'd love to hear that.
President Napa, Member Marquez, I appreciate your consideration. I know I can speak for my team. We have gone to CTA, we have gone to various groups, asked for teacher input, and just really engaged with the board in a discussion about it, which I know doesn't count as a first read, but it was pretty robust. We got a lot of feedback. And again, it wasn't a formal first read, but it was a sample to chew on, and we took everything we said, and I don't know until we actually implement it that we're gonna know what's necessarily wrong with it. I'm willing to take it back and amend it if it's not right. But again, I'm comfortable with it, and I think our teachers and our leaders are as well.
Any further discussion? Questions? All right. So the motion is to approve both of these items as is and waive the second reading. Okay, on the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Going now to 13F, approval of revised governing board policy JLF, reporting child abuse, child protection on first reading. Ms. Andrade.
Thank you, President Napa. Members, this mandatory reporting for child abuse, child protection has always been in place. This statute, or I believe it was, I want to say SB 1437, recently passed. And again, just two caveats to that. It includes now members, substitute teachers, and members of district governing board. So again, something we'd like to be able to train you all in July. The second caveat to this, again, is that no longer do you just go to a school resource officer to report something as sufficient. We really want to make sure that they're notifying a member of law enforcement in the jurisdiction where it's happening, so a law enforcement agency investigating the report. So again, with those two changes, we feel comfortable that it's in compliance with the law on the first read.
So is there a motion to approve the revised policy?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Motion has been made by Clerk Oliver and seconded by Board Member Meyer. Is there any discussion? I have, so you mentioned a training in July. Previously, board members have not been subject to mandatory reporting, is that correct?
Correct.
And then just clarification, and I'm sure we'll talk more about this in July. The reporting to a SRO is now any law enforcement. Does that mean that school leadership has to do that? Is there a designated person on the campus that does that reporting?
So everybody, all employees are subject to mandatory reporting. So whoever is the person that has that information has that duty to report. So it's not just on campus administration, it's on teachers, it's on everybody. So a lot of schools, as you know, have SROs regularly on campus, and some schools would report that information to the SRO. That is no longer going to be sufficient. They actually have to call in to law enforcement. And I realize that sounds weird because obviously SROs are law enforcement, but you have to call to the law enforcement agency to report the incident now.
So just for clarification, if I had a student come to me as a faculty member and I told my assistant principal about it, it's now on me as the teacher to report it, or does reporting it to the
It's
principal?
on you as the teacher, and it has always been on you as the
Okay.
teacher. That has not changed.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, Board Member Cross.
In my 22 years, I had to do it once, and I had to do the reporting. And I did not report it to our SRO, but I did report it to the social worker on campus and got them involved. But I was contacted by CPS every week after that. So, but it was my responsibility once I saw it.
Thank you. Any other further discussion or questions?
Madam President, and just to clarify, we will have training on this, correct, regarding reporting, reporting requirements. I suspect this would also open up our board to, I assume, liability as well if something is not reported correctly. Is that my understanding?
President Napa, Board Member Koda, yes, that does open you up to some liability, but it does for all employees at any school district as well.
Thank you.
All right. Motion has been made. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate, further. Is there any more discussion? Okay, we're good. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Next item is 13G, approval of revised governing board policy JR, student records on first reading. Ms. Andrade.
Oh, President Napa, members, again, originating from House Bill 2514 out of the legislature this session, really just takes an expanded definition of student records, confidentiality, directory information, et cetera. We have to inform our parents what type of information we collect in our directory. We have to give them the right to opt out of the directory information, all of which they can opt out of. And then, of course, want to give them a reasonable time period in which they need to notify us in writing of whether or not they want any of this information designated in the directory they want to opt out of. So they need to know the timeline, they need to know what material we collect and or put in our directory, and then the ability to opt out. Again, schools may no longer disclose addresses, phone numbers, emails without written consent from parents. Again, I would say that our directory information has been cleaned up. I think it was last year, maybe the year before, but it was very recently, and it has very, very tight. It's really a student name, maybe a class rank, and we do not include addresses, phone numbers, emails in our directory. But again, this is law, and so I want to put it before you, just give you a better understanding.
Thank you, Ms. Andrade. Is there a motion to approve the revised policy?
Madam Chair, Superintendent Andrade, items G, H, I, and J, they're all updates to state law. Is that how I understand all of those items? G, H, I, and J.
I believe H and I are attendance, and the remaining ones are updated. So J is a second read on medications, which
Okay. I was going to motion to combine those items.
we could still combine them all.
Okay.
It's just a first read, so.
Yeah, so I'd
It's just
combine.
a second read on the medication. So.
Eileen, is that okay if we combine G, H, I, and J?
Sorry. President Napa, Representative Marquez, I would combine, let me look, you have to vote yet on GH, no wait, GH and I and J, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
So I would combine G and J and then take H and I separately. I'm sorry. I would combine the ones that are for first reading and then do the one for second reading separately. That's what I'm trying to say.
So
Okay.
J
I apologize.
stands alone. Okay.
So I motion to combine G, H, and I.
Second.
All right. There's been a motion to combine items 13G, 13H, and 13I, and there's been a second. Is there any discussion? Okay. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The next item is 13J, adoption of revised governing board policy JLCD, medicines, administering medicines to students on second reading. Ms. Andrade.
President Napa, members, this again is a second read around what medications and what students can self-administer, how we train and have administration of trained employees on campus for various trainings and medication distribution, from EpiPen to inhalers to Narcan, diabetes, the list goes on. And again, this is a second read, and it's in compliance with statutory updates.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the revised policy?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made by Clerk Oliver, seconded by Representative Marquez. Is there any discussion? I have just a quick question. Narcan, that's available on our campuses. By this policy, students can also carry it? Thank you.
Correct.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Oh, I did want to note, oh, yes.
Go ahead.
I did want to note that I did like that students are able to carry that and not face disciplinary action, just given the state of current affairs in when it comes to drugs. So I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, Board Member Meyer, for lifting up the state of the opioid crisis, especially among young people. Any further? On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The next 8 items are for information only, no action required. Items 13K, 13L, 13M, 13N, 13O, 13P, 13Q, and 13R. Receipt of revised governing board regulations, JLCD-R, medicines administering medicines to students, IJNDBR, use of technology resources in instruction, JER, student attendance, JHR, student absences and excuses, JHDR, exclusions and exemptions from school attendance, receipt of revised governing board exhibits, JLCDEA, medicines administering medicines to students, JHDEA, exclusions and exemptions from school attendance, JHDEB, exclusions and exemptions from student attendance. These items are informational only, and though no action is required, receipt of governing board regulations, JLCD-R, IJNDBR, JE-R, JH-R, JHDR, and exhibits JLCDEA, JHD-EA, and JHDEB is acknowledged. Thank you.
Yes!
All right. Next meeting. The public hearings on budget, truth, and taxation notice and special meeting will be held Tuesday, June 17th, 2025 at 6 p.m. The next regular meeting of the governing board is scheduled for Thursday, August 7th, 2025 at approximately 6 p.m. Requests for future agenda items. Members, are there any items you wish to recommend to be considered for future board meeting agendas? Clerk Oliver, do you have something?
Yes, I more of direction. I like the superintendent to look into the situation of the ELD teacher at Alhambra and report back to the board your findings.
Mm-hmm. I would like to also the proposed language development, English language development model or development. I'd like to understand that a little bit more, and then also meaning an explanation so I can understand the change from the 4-hour model. What WSCP is, and furthermore, discussion and evaluation on how that's could be considered a flawed model. And then there was another one. Okay, budget cuts. Looking at the numbers in the professional agreement that was mentioned in public comment, that was altered after the 2008 recession and not revisited. The numbers were never lowered again. I'd like to understand that a little bit more and then revisit it to see what can be further action. Anything else? All right. If that's it, then, I also wanted to say thank you to Mr. Franco and the marketing department. I was not able to attend any of our graduations. Graduations are always a high point for me, but I did request last year a way to be language inclusive on our graduations and celebrations, and I'm really excited about this, this tool and this moving forward on this. Thank you so much. And on that, 14C, motion to, what was that? Board Member
Thank you,
Rivera.
President
Yeah.
Napa. I would like to actually congratulate all the principals right now for their efforts for the class of 2025. So if they could please stand up so we could give them a round of applause. And to all the teachers as well and counselors and school staff who also made class of 2025 possible, thank you very, very much.
Okay, last call. 14C, a motion to adjourn. Having concluded our business, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Motion to adjourn has been made by Governing Board Pastor Rivera, seconded by Representative Marquez. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.